Hello there, it is Brittany, and I'm back with I hesitate to call it a tutorial today because we're probably just going to end up doing a pretty basic stringing project, but I'm going to try and flex my color muscle. um, I am going to be using some of the Pantone collection today, which are absolutely, every strand is absolutely gorgeous. But my design before, when I used these earlier this year, tended towards the orange, the one that I don't have here, rust, and the purple, which is raspberry sorbet and amethyst orchid. So I wanted to try and think outside the box. These are gorgeous. I know you can make such a fantastic necklace using them. Any of these really. But I wanted to try and use some of the beads that didn't jump out at me right away, and that was this really pretty strand called Cerulean and Ultimate Gray. So we all know that gray is one of the really big colors for 2021. And then there was also, I think this was Illuminating, and I can't remember the second color that was in here, but I took out all of the gray beads from this mix, and we're going to be using those today. I'm going to set these lovely yellow beads to the side. So we're going to be using the gray beads from the Illuminating mix and some of the blue and gray beads from the Cerulean and Ultimate Gray. I'm also going to try, and we'll see if it works, to bring in some brown by using the Hidden Canyon strand featuring some of the Dakota Stones stone and wood beads. I also have this Charmed, I'm sure, antique gold kit. So it has some spacers, and a pendant and 2 charms. And I have some seed beads in the Classic Cool. So there's black, almost like a hematite color, and a matte brown. I'm not sure if we'll use those today. And then I have some 3mm check beads in 2 colors. I also have some bead stringing wire. We'll get that out in a minute. And then I already pulled out the gray and blue beads that I want to use from our Cerulean and Ultimate Gray strand. So let me get a bead mat and we'll get started. Okay, so I'm just going to start. I really wanted to use this focal bead that was on the gray, Ultimate Gray and Cerulean strand. So it has some gold highlights, some shell, and some different blues, and then in the back it's like a dark sparkly gray black. So that is going to be part of our focal. I'm going to move that up a little bit there. And I was thinking about hanging our charm below that. So I'm going to open this up. I don't know if we'll actually go that direction, but we'll see how it works out. Then I'm going to set these 2 Tree of Life charms to the side so we can use those in some earrings later. I am going to keep all of these spacers in the middle here. And we're going to be mixing metal here, obviously, because we have the antique brass and then we have the gunmetal spacers. So I'm going to start with this, and it's going to go sideways. I think we'll figure out how to add in our charm in a little bit, and it might be surprising the way we do it. So I just kind of want to get it designed, and then we'll figure that part out. So, and then I also, like I said, pulled out a lot of the blue beads from the blue strand. I didn't use the metal because I wanted it to be more muted palette, and I thought that the bright silver, which is really gorgeous, would just be a little too shiny for this when we're already using some pretty sparkly beads. So let's see what we could do here. Because this is a very big chunky bead, I want to make sure that I kind of move out into the flatter beads. Like we have a flatter crystal, and then we have these flatter almost hematite beads. So we want to make sure that the transition's a little bit more smooth. If we stick a flat bead between a more bulbous bead and another more bulbous bead like this, it's just not going to look right. It's not going to be weighted very well. So I'm going to put my bead in the middle, a couple of gray pearls, And then we have two little cute flower heishi beads in blue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up sandwiching those between two daisy spacers. So I think I'm going to do that between the pearl and our first hematite bead. So I'll just set those right there. We have our Hidden Canyon strand. I'm trying to make this a pretty earthy looking necklace. And I'm just going to kind of see what we have going on here. I like the metals that are in here. Let's cut this open. And I also have some of this tiger eye chain. It was actually in one of the bead boxes, Magical Mystery bead boxes this year, but it's also on the website. I love it. Each piece is hand linked. Oh, I've got a little bit of tape on there. But each piece is hand linked with a gemstone. It's just gorgeous. And I think that's going to do a really great job of tying in the earthy feel. So, let's see here. I also have another strand of beads that might help complement, which is this green sage. It's one of their new glass strands, and I think it really works with that ultimate gray, especially if we're looking at that crystal right there and this one. I'm gonna pop this open. Okay, so we have our placement of our blue and gray beads. I want to start working in our brown beads. I'm going to put aside the copper because that doesn't really work with the look I'm going for. But there were some more daisy spacers on this strand. The tiger eye. To bring the tiger eye that we're going to have in the back, we're going to bring it into our design down here. Just going to move this a little bit. Okay, so I'm loving the brown. I didn't really like the darker or the lighter browns, so I'm going to just stick with the tiger eyes and the metal, our daisy spacers from that strand. And I'm going to put this guy here, move these out even more. I'm going to put our crystal in the middle, because again we want to think of that size difference. So you have just a little bit of brown, and it's darkening or bringing in some dark coloration, and then when we move up the necklace we still have some dark and light, but we're changing into the hematite from there. So I'll probably put a couple wood beads. Let's see. Okay, so it doesn't look like much yet. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my pendant right here. And yes, I'm going to keep this sideways. And then I want to make a piece that's going to go on to our necklace so we can hang our pendant below our boho bead. So I'm going to use some beading wire and some seed beads for this. And I'm looking through my beads to see if there's anything else that might really... Oh, these little cubes are kind of cute. We'll put those on the side. And then we have a couple extra spacers. Oh, we missed one. A couple extra spacers, and I think we're okay. We'll use that and I'll be right back. Okay, so I know some of you might be a little worried at this point, but don't worry. Okay, so I just wanted to decide which color I'm going to use, and I think I'm going to use a combo. I'm going to put the black to the side, but I'm going to use a combo of the the hematite color and the matte brown. Okay, so I have some spilled out here. I have some 19 strand bead-along bead stringing wire in gold. And I also have some clamshells, or they're also called culottes. I think that's what they're called. And they're an ending finding that you can put to use to crimp your necklace. But I'm going to use them in a different way here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to decide how long I need my little second part of my pendant to be. And I'm going to just get a jump ring and put it on my pendant, an antique brass. Let's get a medium-sized one. Okay, put that on there. And I'm going to put this on the middle. I mean, it'll be the middle of our strand, our second strand, but I'm just going to kind of design around our pendant here. So it's going to go like that. We're going to attach it like this when we string. So it's like a second mini necklace. I'm going to grab a couple of these gunmetal pieces. And I'm going to actually cut this because we don't need the whole thing. And these are going to go right around our little pendant. Okay. And then I'm going to put on a spacer and then our crystal. And do the same thing on the other side. You can do one side at a time if you'd like. Okay, so there we go. It's a little mini necklace. And then I am just going to bead up as far as I think I need to with my seed beads. And I think I'm going to end up using the hematite version. Just to bring some of that hematite from the back of the, or well, not the back of the necklace, but up towards the back of the necklace down into the front. Okay, we'll just keep going until it's long enough. Okay, so I've beaded up my pendant, and I think there's enough room for what I want. I want these to actually connect on the outsides of my two tiger eye beads. So what I'm going to do is I have my bead string and wire. I have a crimp bead and I have my culotte. Okay, so I'm going to stick the crimp bead through my clamshell or culotte. I'll probably use one or the other words while we're talking about it. And then I'm going to put on my crimp. And I'm not going to just blindly crimp, although you can. It's not really going to matter too much, but I'm going to come back down through our culotte so it looks like that. So our crimp is stopping our bead string and wire from coming undone. So I'm going to grab my crimping pliers and I'm just going to flat crimp my crimp bead in there so he doesn't go anywhere. You just smush him. There you go. So our crimp bead and our wire aren't going anywhere. And then I'm going to take my culotte and I'm just going to close it. Okay, make sure your two pieces line up. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side of the wire. I'm just going to try and slip this through a couple of these seed beads. It might be too thick. Yeah, it's too thick, so we can just cut this off. It's not going to hurt anything. Just make sure you only cut the shorter strand. Believe me, it's no fun if you cut the long one. Okay, and then we'll do the exact same thing on the other side. Now, we don't want it to be a straight line, so you don't want to go ahead and just crimp it while it's looking like this. You want to make sure, oh, look, the back of that's really pretty. I didn't notice. It has a lotus, so if it turns around, it's still pretty. You want to make it, this is going to be a little bit stiffer than we would strand like a regular necklace because it's a pendant. We don't need it to flip-flop all over the place, but it's still not going to be a straight line. So we want to make sure it's a little loosey-goosey when we crimp it. We'll do the exact same thing. Crimp bead, and then push all the way back down through our clamshell. And pull it down a little bit, but see how it wants to stay a straight line. We don't want that to be a straight line, so we're going to try and curve it just a little bit. You might have to be careful and just kind of hold it while you're crimping the other side so it doesn't straighten out. And just make sure there aren't a lot of gaps. Okay. There is a bit of a gap right there, but if we straighten it out too much, we're going to be in trouble. So I'll go ahead and do the exact same thing and flat crimp our crimp bead. Okay, then we'll close our culotte and cut our excess wire. There we go. All right, so it doesn't look like much, but we've got a little pendant, and then your clamps or your clamshells become almost like a spacer bead. So I am going to start stringing the front of our necklace. Just going to take my wire. We have a man down. Okay, so I'm going to start, it doesn't matter which side you start from. I'll start right here. And then we're going to sandwich our little Heishi bead. So cute. Okay, and then before we slip on our next bead, we're going to slip on part of our pendant. So I'm just trying to figure out which way he's going to go. Yeah, it's going to go like that. So we'll slide that down to our beads there. Then we'll put on our tiger eye, our focal, our second tiger eye, and then we'll slide on the other side of our pendant, and we'll see how it worked out. And if at this point it's not the length you'd like it to be, you can always restring it, but I think that's really cute. I love having that hang down there. And so we have two focals, and the crystals and the gunmetal are bringing your eye down to the pendant, but your eye's also drawn to this beautiful shell mosaic bead flanked by your tiger eye gemstones. So then I'm just going to go up the rest of the necklace. And we'll do our little Heishi bead sandwich again. Okay. I'm going to, since I have a couple more of these spacers, I'm going to put on one of these back here. And then I'll do the exact same on the other side. We're going to finish the necklace off with the tiger eye chain to bring some of that brown into the back. So we're going to, again, you can do this several different ways. You can wire right onto the end of your chain here. You can get a jump ring. You can use a culotte like I did with the pendant up here. I think what I'll do, I'm going to get a jump ring because I think I want to do 2 strands of our chain. So I'm going to grab 2 bigger jump rings, and then make sure it's closed. Like this is semi-open. We don't want that unless you, I mean, you really don't want that, but if you're using a clamshell to attach your wire with, it's easier. It's harder, I should say, for it to go through a jump ring like that. But if you're attaching your bead stringing wire on with right onto your jump ring, you want to make sure that that is really solidly closed, because that wire will find any way to get between that opening. So I am just going to take a crimp bead, my jump ring, and then come back through my crimp. And we want to make sure that those wires are not crossed. Okay. I'm going to take my crimp pliers, make sure that the largest valley is the one where I settle my crimp bead in. And I'm just going to bring that up to my jump ring. So we have a little bit of motion there. And we want to make sure that our wires aren't crossed. And if it is okay to flat crimp this if you're not the best at folded crimping. But again, just make sure your wires aren't crossed either way no matter what kind of crimp you do. And take your time. You don't have to rush it. Every time I've gone way too fast, every time I've messed up a crimp is when I've gone way too fast. And then we'll turn it 90 degrees, go to the next part in our crimping pliers and crimp again. And then we'll go up the pliers and kind of just keep going until we get to the flat one. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do that on the other side of the necklace. I'm just going to slip these through. I tend not to cut off the tail because in case I mess up on my necklace, I want to be able to crack that crimp off and keep going instead of having to restring my entire necklace. Okay, and then we'll come to this side and I'm going to move my beads down. And again, we want to crimp in like the formation that we want to wear our necklace. So we don't want to crimp while the necklace is like this. It's not going to look great. But if we crimp like this, it gives enough room for the beads to move around. Okay. That little pendant, so cute. All right, so I'm going to cut off this side off my spool. I usually work on my spool. It's just a little bit easier and prevents a lot of beads falling off. I'm going to put on that last bead I decided to put on at the end. My crimp. And again, we want to make sure that the jump ring is closed. Here we go. If you'd like, you could totally cover this in seed beads to make your loop. And now thinking about it, I probably should have done that to tie the seed beads in from the pendant, but we've already finished the other side. So we'll go ahead and feed this through a couple of these beads so I can get some leverage while I am crimping. And I'm just making sure, measure once, measure twice, cut once. Make sure we have our beads in the right spaces. There aren't a lot of gaps between our beads, and the necklace looks the way we want it to look, or at least this part of their necklace looks the way we want it to look, and it does. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to smoosh in my crimping pliers in that valley. I'm going to turn it 90 degrees. Oop. There we go. And then just keep going. I am going to trim my wire. Make sure you, again, only cut the one that is the shorter wire. We're good there. So there's part of our necklace. And of course, if you don't want to use chain, just bead up the back of the necklace. We had plenty of beads left. There we go. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. It's so cute. I usually just measure on myself to see how long I want it to be. This necklace, I kind of don't want it to be too long. Although it would look really nice as like a more of a mala length. I think it's just going to be chest length on me. So I am just going to grab my chain. And I need 2 lengths of chain that are about, let's see, about 13 inches each. And then I will cut both of those in half. So I need about 26 inches of chain for the style that I'm going for, or the length that I'm going for, actually, is what I meant to say. So I'll go ahead and snip. You're gonna have to sacrifice one of your perfect lengths there. And then just kind of get that out of there, and then I'm going to cut this in half again. So I'm going to get rid of this guy right here. Okay, so we have two pieces, and then that's going to be the back. So then I'm going to cut each one of these in half because I want two pieces of chain on each side of the necklace. Let's make it as even as you possibly can. Sometimes it's not going to work out perfectly. And we'll attach a jump ring on the back, so I'm going to cut that guy off. Okay, and we'll do the exact same thing on this side. And this is our guy right here. Okay, so we have our two sides. Now, I should have attached them to the jump ring before I closed it to make sure that this ring wouldn't come off, but we'll slide it open. We'll just make sure it's really closed. Just pick which side you think you like a little bit better. Go. There we go. And we'll just do the same thing to the other side. Okay. So I am going to get a closure for this necklace. Okay, so I have this closure. It's from that same metal collection as the pendant. It's very pretty. I am going to get a jump ring. And we're just going to close our necklace. So I'm just going to make sure it lays correctly. Isn't that pretty? And with a toggle clasp, I don't usually it doesn't matter to me which side I put on, the side of the necklace. Normally when I have a lobster clasp, I put the lobster portion on the right side of the necklace. So because I'm right-handed, but in this situation, it's not really going to matter too much. Okay. Then we'll do the other side. And there we go. So I will definitely show you the necklace against the nicer background and scooch in a little bit so you can see it. We're going to make a pair of earrings first, but here is our non-traditional color scheme necklace with some mixed metals and 2 focals. I actually really love this necklace and love how it turned out, and I'm going to be wearing it this weekend for sure. So there's number 1. And then we saved these Tree of Life charms. Let's see. Here's my little bucket of beads from the many strands that I cannibalized for that project. I really like these from the Sage Green strand. However, I think they might be a little big, so we have little ones. Oh yeah, those are pretty. Those are pretty. And then let's see. Maybe we can get a couple of these chips in here. So I think we're going to use some of this chain, and I'm just going to cut apart so we can get a couple of these gemstones and use them as spacer beads. So I want to make sure I grab the right, I think I want these 2 right here. Make sure there's nothing closer to the end that I can use. I'm looking for flatter beads. Yeah, we can use these 2. That guy. And that guy. You can use as many as you want, but I am going to grab an eye pin. We're going to put on our crystal, our gemstone, and our gunmetal bead. And then we want to make sure that, actually I want to make sure that that'll fit around our charm. Because if it doesn't, we could just use some wire or a jump ring. But no, it fits. There we go. Okay, we're just going to do a simple loop. We want to make sure that it faces the right way, and it doesn't. So I'm just going to grab this and twist. Okay, there's a really pretty cute earring. Simple and earthy and sweet. And I will go ahead and close that up. There we go. And I'll go ahead and do the second one. Okay. All right, so there's our second earring. and we have tons of stuff left over to make us more projects that match. I will be right back. I'm going to clean all this up and we'll show you the finished pieces. Okay, so even though I had a vision in mind when I started this necklace, it actually turned out way better than I was anticipating, and I'm super excited because I don't have a lot of jewelry in these colors, and I think it's almost neutral and can go with a lot of different things. So we have our Buddha pendant, our focal shell bead, some gorgeous stones and glass, leading us up to more stone. You can make this so many different lengths. You could actually even add extenders on the back, whatever floats your boat. And then we have a really sweet pair of earrings using the same metal kit, the sage strand, some gemstones, and the illuminating bead mix. So I am super, super happy with this set. I hope everybody enjoyed it today. I know it seemed a little out there when we started, but I'm glad you stuck with me. Thanks to Jesse James Beads as always for having me on. And you can check me out on Turquoise.Street on YouTube, Turquoise.Street, and Brittany's Beads on Facebook. I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Bye-bye.